who in turn turn around and commit more violent crimes and make our communities less safe. This has been a problem plaguing the country as we've seen crime rates skyrocket and murder rates skyrocket. And it is a problem that is exacerbated by the Biden administration and the Democrats in the Senate, who continue to further the priorities of releasing violent criminals. When I look at your record, I see a pattern of doing the same thing. You're very familiar with the case of Albertus Lewis. Albertus Lewis allegedly shot Myra Sanchez in the head and then dumped her body in a wheelchair outside of a hospital in downtown Columbia. You granted Lewis a surety bond in the amount of $150,000. After you did so, it turned out that Lewis was involved in yet another violent incident when police responded to a domestic violence scene involving Lewis, where a woman called 911 saying Lewis had a gun and was setting things on fire. When police arrived, they had to fire almost immediately because of the danger, and they had to go in because Lewis picked up a small child and used a small child as a human shield, in the process causing injury to two sheriff's deputies. Do you think it was a mistake to release a violent criminal on bond when he went out and committed yet another violent crime?
Thank you, Senator. As I previously stated, Mr. Lewis, when he initially appeared before me, I denied his bond. It was not until after the state violated the court's order to try his case. There was issues with discovery missing in the case. And Senator, I'll just say this, the case is still pending. It's a 2017 case. It is still pending. There's issues with discovery in the case, and the defendant was asserting his right, Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. That was after 2 years when he initially appeared before me, and I denied his bond. In considering any bond, Senator, I consider the United States Constitution, the South Carolina Constitution, and I have to consider the bond statute of the General Assembly in South Carolina.
Okay, so you just said you did it because of a speedy trial claim. What is the remedy for a speedy trial claim?
The remedy for a speedy trial claim is dismissal.
So you didn't do that, did you?
My consideration was based on him violating the court's previous order of not trying the case. It was
By the way,
not
what's the Fourth Circuit precedent on speedy trial claims? And isn't it in fact the case that the Fourth Circuit has repeatedly held that substantially longer delays don't violate the speedy trial clause?
Well, I think there's an analysis that has to be done.
Did you engage in that analysis?
Yes, and part of that analysis is that the state has to give a reason as to why they did not try the case. And in that case, the state did not have a reason whatsoever.
So you said you engaged in that analysis. Did you write an opinion? Did you explain your reasoning from the bench?
I don't recall. I do not recall, but we do not usually have published opinions in South Carolina.
Well, you know, the court they've appointed you to, that's what they do. And
yes, I understand that.
So I'm going to give you a chance to answer my question again, because I started with, do you think it was a mistake to release a violent criminal who turned around and injured two sheriff's deputies and held up a little child as a human shield? Was it a mistake?
Thank you again, Senator. Once again, I consider the issues before me. I consider the Constitution of the state of South Carolina, the United States, and the bond code. And
but you know, that's not any comfort to the families of the sheriff's deputies who were shot by the violent criminal you released. And you have a pattern of doing so in other cases as well, including releasing one of the people involved in yet another murder of Kelly Honeywell, a 33-year-old single mother of four who was murdered, shot during a robbery, and you released one of the individuals involved in that. And listen, what I find amazing is The Biden administration claims they bear no responsibility for releasing violent criminals who turn around and murder people. But then President Biden keeps nominating judicial nominees who have a history of releasing violent criminals who turn around and murder people. And every Senate Democrat's going to vote to confirm you, and they're going to go home and tell their constituents, oh, we don't support releasing violent criminals who turn around and murder people, and yet we keep following this pattern over and over again. There's a reason people are very concerned about the safety of their families.
Senator Booker.
It's good to be back, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to be before you, Judge. I'm grateful. I just want to take a moment, though. You know, it's tough to see issues of crime become so weighted in partisanship in our country when we all share the same values. We all want safe homes and safe communities. And the way data is often parsed is such a venal kind of crass partisanship. I look at the country right now, and the majority of the states with the highest per capita murder rate have been red, so-called red states, and I don't think that's a Republican versus Democrat thing. And to use these things to whip up makes me appreciate the weeks I had away from Washington, D.C. Because out in America, people want us to come together and find solutions. And again, it's frustrating to have this thought that this Congress has approved hundreds of millions of dollars for public safety, one of the largest investments public safety has been made in generations to help local police departments. We've expanded COPS grants, SAFER grants. A lot of this has actually been money that has been voted against by some of my very colleagues who are somehow making this fiction that the Biden administration has not been one of the best in supporting and empowering local police departments. Again, this is not a partisan issue. I'm not going to wave a flag that says that the highest per capita murder rates are in red states, Republican states. I mean, that would be, in my opinion, venal, crass, and not indicative of the common cause that we have in preventing crime. Nor would I look at all the judges that Donald Trump put up and scrape them to see what was said as if it's only the judges that are from one party that have, in any point in their lives, released somebody who's gone out and committed a crime. I worked with the Trump administration to pass incredible criminal justice reform that literally had thousands of people released from prison when we worked, sir, on your bill that corrected the failure to make retroactive the crack and powder cocaine situation. And less than 1%, I think, went out and recidivated. That's not an indictment of the Trump administration. That's not an indictment of him. And that's the kind of rhetoric that's just getting tiresome to me. Murder started to spike not under the Biden administration. Murder rates started to spike in America under the Trump administration. And so, again, I'm back here. I need to readjust into this environment, into this into listening back and forth. But I am frustrated that it's happening before a judge who is just extraordinary, whose career is a testimony to the best of what it means to serve this country, not in a partisan way, but in a branch of government that's independent of partisanship, who's sitting in a chair making tough calls every single day. And now what I see is often a pattern that I've seen in Supreme Court, in a Supreme Court hearing now, all the way down now to the federal judiciary, to try to create this fiction that somehow judges who have to make tough calls, judges appointed by Republicans and Democrats, often have to make tough calls and have to evaluate the law and make decisions. And I think that your career is a testimony to that. I want to thank you for being here. I want to praise the family that raised you. I want to celebrate your service and let you know that I'm looking forward to voting for you on the floor of the Senate. You will be confirmed, and it will be a great day for America. And so let me just end in the 30 seconds I have left and just asking you to say on the record, your understanding of your role as a judge in the face of a nation that has more and more partisanship, it seems, a greater culture of contempt. You're coming forward, and I think your career is a testimony to that, with an understanding to the responsibilities of the judiciary. And you will hold on this circuit court position, which I'm confident you will have, a sacred obligation that you will fulfill. And I was wondering if you could just take my last seconds and affirm that to this committee that I don't think needs the affirmation, but I want to give you space to do so.
Thank you, Senator. In any decision that I make, I consider the text of the Constitution. In my current role, I consider the South Carolina Constitution and the law that is before me. Senator, I take seriously the oath that I have taken to uphold and protect the Constitution of my state and of the United States of America.
And not only